So we are recording. Okay, great.
Okay. All right. So
we are recording and publishing those recording on Facebook and YouTube.
Are you facilitating, Bill?
I thought so. But
okay, great.
Okay. All right. So basically, we're going to start with a brief introduction and just kind of tell your name, kind of a little bit about yourself, but probably keep it within about 20 seconds. And also what your feelings, you can give your political leanings or maybe just a thumbnail about, how you feel about this topic, which is nonviolent actions today. Okay. Would anybody like to start?
I'm good to start. Edwin Rutch, Director of the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy. I'm in El Cerrito, California, which is near Berkeley, San Francisco Bay Area. Politically, I would say I'm empathic, kind of not left, not right, but empathic.
Okay. All right, I'll just call people out. Sophia, you want to give an introduction?
Yeah, my name is Sophia, and I'm in Sweden. And politically, I'm left, on the left side. Not radical, but I'm also sort of like trying to empathize with all sides.
Okay. Andre?
Excuse me. I'm Andre, live in the Bay Area and Spain. I kind of go back and forth. And I'm on, not on any political platform. So
okay.
Actually not politically oriented. As far as my paradigm is, I probably can be qualified as conservative to a degree.
Okay, great. Ian?
Yeah, I'm Ian. I don't know what my politics are. Probably kind of more left, but I don't really identify as being left or particularly political. What was the question? How do we feel about?
Oh, that was just, how do you feel about the issue? The issue of discussion today is nonviolence, nonviolent tactics, whether they're more disruptive or whether they're justified to,
and global warming too. So global warming
right.
Within that. Sort of, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think that's why I was confused because okay. So how do I feel about that? I think it's good.
Okay, great. Okay, and where are you from?
From London.
Right, I know you're saying for the recording. Thanks. Okay, Alex.
Hey, hey, Alex from Virginia. I don't know what I am politically. Not like huge follower of like any platform or anything. Yeah, I think I'll just leave it there.
Okay, great. Okay, Carolina.
Hi, everyone. My name is Karolina Kubiak. I'm calling from Gdańsk, north of Poland, Central Europe. Politically, I'm radical left with Gandhian methods, Gandhian means. And I accept and I support nonviolent protest, even if they disrupt regular life or economy, any field. I accept and support it. Yeah.
Okay, we're getting some. Okay, and my name is Bill Filler. I'm in the Bay Area. I'm a retired special education teacher, and I'm on the left, but it's complicated. And so, and then what we'll do now is Carolina will go into a brief description of the process, and then we will we're going to break up into groups today, Edwin, or what do you think?
We're kind of right at the borderline.
Yeah. Right.
If we had one more person, it'd be obviously break up into two groups. Maybe we could even have one group and then after for a while and then break up into two later or something like that. It's just we're kind of like right at the borderline here.
Right. Okay. So then after this, then we'll stay in one group for this particular time after Carolina explains the rules. Carolina?
Okay, so for those who don't know how the empathy circle works, it's kind of structured dialogue. The best number of participants is 3 to 5 participants. And there are usually 3 roles in this dialogue. There is a speaker, there is an active listener, and there are silent listeners. So the first person is a speaker, and this person chooses who this person wants to talk. The speaker chooses the active listener, and they talk. Actually, speaker explain what he or she thinks, feel, whatever they want to say, and the active listener explain that in his or her own words. They do that for a allotted time, usually 3 to 5 minutes, and then active listener become a speaker and chooses another person. So that's how the empathy circle goes around all the people that are in our meeting. Let me give some tips for speaker and active listener. So when you are a speaker, you choose whoever you want. It's good to give chance to everybody participate in this dialogue. So it's good if we spread our choices. But if you want to choose particular person, it's your choice. You choose whoever you want. It's good to pause, make pauses. It gives your listener, your active listener, a chance to reflect what you're saying as well as it possible. Check how your active listener understand what you mean. If you feel that there is some misunderstanding, you can make corrections. You can use different words. You can add something to what you said. When the time is up, it's good to say that you feel heard, you feel fully heard. Obviously, if you feel that way. When you are active listener, your role is to explain in your own words what you just heard from the speaker. Very important thing is to refrain from any judgment, any analyzing, detaching, diagnosing, or advising, or even sympathizing. Your role in this moment is to reflect back what you hear from the speaker. It's his or her time to be heard, and your role is to give this feeling of being heard to this person. You can ask for pausing if there is too much information for you, because that's what gives the speaker better feeling of being heard if you can reflect as well as you can. So ask for pausing. Silent listener actually is good to be present and watch, observe the whole process and how we stick to the all points of the process, monitor the process. And if I may, I would suggest to observe how we are focused on listening, how we hear person when we are active listener and when we are just silent listener observing the process. It's good experience to observe ourselves in this process. So I think more or less I said, can you add anything, Bill or Edwin?
No, that's great. I think that's really, we'll as we go along, I would just say, don't worry about making a mistake. And we're all learning the process, and just feel comfortable, feel free to make a mistake, and then we'll live, believe me. Okay. Would anybody like, I'm sorry, Carolina, you finished?
Yes, I think
Okay.
we should model the process, show
Right.
everybody how
Okay.
it works.
So usually the facilitator, which is me today, will start as the first active listener just to kind of model it and make it, just kind of show you what it's about. Would anybody like to start?
Who's timekeeper and for how many if time?
I can
Okay.
be a timekeeper.
And what do you
For
think?
how long?
5, yeah.
5, yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Okay. Would anybody like to start?
Okay.
No? Okay.
No, I'll start then.
Okay, great.
Just to model it. So the topic is, what do we think about climate change and how I feel about it? And then the subtopic was about the using nonviolent methods, like Extinction Rebellion is doing in the UK, and that movement is spreading around the world. So, and we had a poll on it, like, what do you think about, using those tactics? I'm just kind of setting up what we're doing. And I voted I'm for nonviolent actions, that kind of get attention. But it depends on how it's framed. So I'll just start with that and pause.
Okay. So Edwin was talking about his process in, creating this poll and this subject about whether nonviolent actions justify the ends, and so that's what we're here to discuss today.
And so I'm for. I think that what's neat, for example, there was just a demonstration at the New York Times. 70 people were from Extinction Rebellion were there. They were saying New York Times needs to do more with promoting, talking about climate change. And 70 people got arrested because they blocked the road in front of the New York Times. And how I would have set it up is I would have said there's an empathy deficit. And, people aren't empathizing with each other. They're not empathizing with nature. And we would like to have an empathy circle with the New York Times staff and leadership, the CEO. So I would have framed it about the demonstration is about having a dialogue with the leadership of the organization that they're trying to, demonstrate, against or try to get their attention. So that's, so let me pause there.
So Edwin, what I was hearing you saying is that you in thinking about the effectiveness and of nonviolent civil disobedience, you were referencing the 70 people that were arrested outside the New York Times, and that story did get written up, and what you were saying is that you would have added another kind of layer or goal, and that would be to create a dialogue with the New York Times about this. That
an empathy circle, specifically. I would have said we want an empathy circle with the staff. Yeah.
Right. So in other words, utilizing this format,
exactly.
In other words, to talk out things. Thanks.
And just last piece is I see that as Kingian nonviolence. Is that my understanding of Kingian nonviolence? If you have an issue, like, with civil rights, whatever, that you try to talk to the people in power to have your voice heard and included. And you first reach out, for example, it could have been to the New York Times, hey, we'd like to have a dialogue with you. They would say, no, we don't want the dialogue, or we don't have time for it. This happens often. And then you do the action, and the action is to bring them to the table. So in Kingian nonviolence, sort of like non-judgmental, but you ask for dialogue, they don't dialogue with you, and then you do the action, and then you get you bring them to the table. So that's like the formula that I see.
Okay. So, and Edwin was talking about in doing this that there are steps. I think you said Kingian, nonviolent practice, where you reach out, formally. And then you, like in a letter or telephone, whatever, and then you escalate as they keep on refusing to talk to you.
That's it. I feel heard, fully heard.
Okay, great. All right. All right, I'll talk to Sophia. You ready, Sophia?
I'm ready.
Great. Okay. Oh, a lot to unpack. One of the things that I learned in my job is that human beings are a mixed bag. And that's sort of how I come to this. I don't believe the media is really reporting on things, and large issues are being underreported or misreported. And so I think that sometimes you need to basically say, no, this is what we mean, and you need to be heard. I'll stop there.
Okay, so you're saying that through your work, you've learned that humans are different, and you have also noticed that media isn't reporting the whole picture. And I'm not sure what you said after that. Yeah.
Well, basically, that sometimes you got to rock the boat because you're not being heard. I do hear that.
Oh, okay. So you're saying that rebellious actions are sometimes needed to rock the boat.
Correct.
Correct. Yeah.
And so I'm of sort of two minds. Like, I personally think that what we're doing now is the most revolutionary act on the planet today. I mean, that's my opinion. That I believe that if we could get a significant portion of people to practice this process of listening, it fosters communication and dialogue and really has empathy. I believe that not only is empathy a concept, but empathy is a biological imperative for humans.
Yeah, so you're saying that what we're doing here in the empathy circle is the most rebellious thing that is happening on Earth right now. And you are also saying that this is a biological
need.
Yeah, biological emotional need to empathize with each other. Is that correct?
That's great. Yes. And so, I was reading about the Yellow Umbrella movement in China today and what they're doing. And I think that has implications for XR because the leaders have been arrested, yet the movement is still cohesive and effective. And I'll stop there.
Okay, so can you just clarify what happened in China? Because I'm not sure what you're talking about. Yeah.
The Yellow Umbrella movement is a protest of Hong Kong Chinese against the dictatorial, actions of the mainland Chinese government. They just recently had a law that said that any protesters or anybody in Hong Kong could be extradited to China, which would mean, a bad news. So literally millions of people came out. I think it's like a quarter of the population came out into the street to protest. And they have backed down from that extradition law. However, there are still, fights to be won. And what happened during that is that the Chinese arrested the leaders of this movement, which is called the Yellow Umbrella movement, because you could open a yellow umbrella and that was how you could identify yourself. But nevertheless, there is certain cohesion that still exists. And I think that that's very important. Now, that's a lot to reflect. So go ahead.
Yeah. But you're basically saying that this Yellow Umbrella movement is sort of like just showing you that these kinds of actions can really make a difference. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yes, well, they can, but I'm also, interested in how the cohesion stays together without the leaders.
Okay, so what does cohesion mean? I'm
Cohesion
sorry.
means working together cooperatively.
Oh, yeah. So you're seeing the division there between the government and this organization, and you don't, you want people to cooperate more.
Well, I do, but it's not between the government and the protesters, but it's within the protest movement itself.
Oh, okay. So you want more cooperation in the organizations also. Yeah, in the organizations.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Sophia. I feel fully heard. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Sophia, pick someone up.
I need my glasses to see the names. Lane.
Ian.
Ian. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Ian.
Yeah, it looks like Lane, but it's
Okay. Sorry. I'm just jumping into these conversations, not knowing what to say about the issues. So I was hoping that I wouldn't get chosen. So because I just wanted to hear other people's thoughts about this. Yeah, you can reflect.
yeah. So you said that you were mainly coming here to listen, and you were hoping that you wouldn't get chosen because you don't feel like you know so much about the issues around this topic.
Yes, correct. I'm all for being rebellious. I've been that kind of person since I was little, and I have read a lot of history, and I know that the planet has made progress because of rebellious actions. But I'm not sure about these actions that people are doing all around the world. I mean, in favor of the climate. I'm not sure what to think about that.
Okay. Am I allowed to ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
Does that fall into the MP30? Okay, so you say that you're not sure about them. What aspects are you unsure of?
Because I see the kind of opposite. People are so like against it or for it. And I'm not sure that these kinds of actions will create the change that the earth needs. And I really agree on Edwin and also Bill that there needs to be some kind of empathy in the organizations because I'm not sure that these actions are creating the kind of change that we need.
Yeah, right. So you said that you have studied history, I think, particularly when you were younger. So you appreciate that these rebellious acts can somehow advance history, but you're not sure about if these particular actions that we're talking about. It sounds like you're concerned that it could kind of polarize people and make people have more conflict, and it sounds like you might you think, and you don't know if that would be effective. So it sounds like you feel that a more empathic and less sort of what's the word, adversarial approach might be more successful.
Yeah, exactly. And this is why I wanted to hear other people's thoughts about it, because I'm sort of like in between. I'm sort of like, I'm all against people being rebellious and taking action and sort of like forcing change. But at the same time, I think that it could also backfire. So that is my concern. But so yeah, I'm not sure. I'm just repeating myself. But I feel heard, so we can stop there. But you can reflect.
Yeah, okay, I'll reflect. So, so it seems like on the one hand, you said just now that you were against rebellious actions, but I think maybe you meant that you were for.
I'm for. Oh, sorry.
Yes, that's what I thought. So, okay, so that's the time.
Yeah, you can just finish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So, so yeah, you say you're for the rebellious actions and you want to see the change, but you're worried that these actions could backfire and be counterproductive, and that you're happy to be here and listen to what everyone else thinks, because it sounds like maybe you're slightly undecided.
Yes, I feel fully heard. Thank you.
So now I speak.
Yes.
And I choose somebody who to listen to me. So I'm going to choose Martin.
Okay.
Martin. So, what is there a question that in particular that we're responding to, or just kind of free speaking?
The question generally is whether nonviolent civil disruption is worth the disruption, essentially, to achieve the ends.
And you can always talk about whatever is alive in you. So it doesn't even have to be on the topic, but just whatever you have energy and excitement about.
Okay.
But we particularly talking about situation like, for example, Extinction Rebellion in UK, in London, blocked bridges, or and Gelände in Germany occupied some places, mines, that sort of thing that kind of disrupts regular life, public transport, and our regular daily life. That's what we mean.
Okay, yeah, thanks. Yeah, so I'm actually in Extinction Rebellion in London. So this is something that we've kind of thought about quite a lot, and it's come up as a debate. My view is that it is justified and it is also necessary to cause disruption.
Okay, so you are actually in Extinction Rebellion in London, and your view of the whole thing is that the tactics of civil disobedience and nonviolent disruption are totally justified in this situation.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, particularly in the UK, if you look at the traditional campaigning methods that have been used, it's almost like we need more now. We're so far away from where we need to be with the kind of climate stuff that we need more, kind of like a stronger approach.
So the traditional methods of protest or being against various policies seem, in your view, now to be too weak, and what we need is a much more a powerful methodology in order to get the point across, because the time is short.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I think if you look at what the Extinction Rebellion has achieved so far, The aims haven't been met yet, but they have achieved something. I think that is a testament to the effectiveness of these methods.
So in the last a bunch of actions of Extinction Rebellion in London, I suppose specifically, a great deal was achieved by the use of those methods, which wouldn't have been achieved by any other way. Although there's still some things which have been asked for, which have not been achieved yet.
Yeah, that's right. And yeah, I'd just say finally about this kind of disruption is that somebody likened being annoyed with Extinction Rebellion for like blocking the roads or something. It's like, to bring attention to the climate and ecological crises, it's like being annoyed with your fire alarm when it's telling you there's a fire.
I see. Okay. So one of the analogies or metaphors that has been introduced to people complaining about the disruption and the inconvenience that the traffic blocking or whatever tactics might cause is akin to being annoyed at your fire alarm when it's telling you there's a fire. Good one.
Yeah, I feel heard.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you. And that's Ian, right? Ian, right? Mm-hmm. Thank you, Ian. Yeah. Okay. Well, sorry I was a bit late. But I thought I would drop in, and fortunately the gate was still open, and so I was able to click in. Thank you for that.
Glad you could join us.
Yeah, glad to have you.
Well, okay. Well, why don't I might have missed a couple of people. So just in terms of who is still available and hasn't been in this round,
Alex, Andre, or Carolina.
Andre,
Andre, Alex, and me.
Okay. Okay, well, let's see. Okay, I'm Carolina then. Why don't I pick you, Carolina?
Okay.
Okay,
I'm listening.
I certainly just off the top, I would tend to agree with what Ian said, and also what Sophia said too, was that, you know, history has shown that you know, an awful lot of the major advances of civilization have been caused by fairly major actions of one sort, some of them more violent than others. But
can you post? Okay, I don't speak English very well, so I need you to pause. Okay, thank you. So what I hear you saying that you partially agree with Ian and also with Sophia, and it wasn't clear to me the other part of what you were saying, that if I understand you correctly, the progress of civilization, it causes a lot of problems, and it needs to be kind of strongly opposed. That's what you mean?
At times, an example might be, an extreme example might be the French Revolution, for instance, you know, where the people rose up against the divine right aristocracy and overthrew that divine right aristocracy. Although it does have a habit of bubbling to the surface again later. This is complex.
So what you said.
Sorry.
So you saying that protests, you recall the French Revolution when the masses kind of oppose protests against aristocracy, but after some time, aristocracy kind of came back to the power. So more or less, that's what you mean.
Absolutely, yes. It might not be the same people, but the same structure seems to come back. Looking at Russia after the wall came down in that particular revolution, or when the 1917 revolution happened, there's always a power block that seems to take over at the top after the other one has been thrown out.
So what I'm hearing you saying, that there is kind of pattern in any rebellions, revolutions, protests, that that some groups organize themselves to change the system, but then somehow the top of the old system kind of come back. That's what you mean.
Yes.
And we can see that in the whole history of many countries. You mentioned Russia also.
Yes, yes, absolutely. That's totally correct. And in some ways, that would lead me to agree with Bill at one level, that the empathy circle methodology, or some version of that methodology, perhaps would have longer lasting results in terms of system change.
So what I'm hearing you saying, that the nature of protests you were talking before was kind of, as I understand, violent, and the empathy circle and such methods give you a hope that the effect might last longer than after violent or kind of forcing change, forced change.
Absolutely. And that would bring me back to Extinction Rebellion, where, because it is a very avowedly nonviolent movement, and much of the video that one sees from Extinction Rebellion is, really nice people chatting with really nice cops.
So that brings you back to the Extinction Rebellion, and you see on videos any sort nice people kindly talking to the police or other people, and it gives you, as I understand, kind of hope that it might be the same like empathy circle. Is it right?
It is absolutely right. Thank you so much. I feel completely, you got it all perfectly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So I will choose maybe, okay, Alex, could you reflect me?
Sure.
Okay, I set my time. So actually, I'm involved like Ian also in Extinction Rebellion here in Poland. We are much younger movement than you in UK. We just, some groups were founded 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago. So we are very young and we just beginning. I stopped there.
Okay. So you're also involved in the Extinction Rebellion in Poland, but sounds like your organization's a little less mature, so kind of in the earlier stages.
Yeah, because Extinction Rebellion in UK exists from, I'm not sure, October or November 2018. So they are much more mature than we are. Yeah, and I truly believe in nonviolent action, and in general in nonviolent practice every day in my life, as my personal attitude and also as a political approach. That's kind of my credo.
Okay, so you find like the ideas of nonviolence really like align with your own values and the way you want to live. Is that kind of what you're saying, or?
Yeah, it's kind of, it's a personal attitude, my personal choice, which I try to practice in my private life. It's kind of attitude, personal attitude, but also a political approach. I'm trying to spread and share with this idea with my friends, colleagues, political activists, whoever wants to listen. Yeah.
Okay, so you found it's something that you try to have in your personal life, just on a kind of just your regular daily life kind of basis, but you're also applying it to politics.
Yeah. And that's how I found Empathy Circle, actually, because I believe it's a beautiful method of achieving goals. And I believe in unity, goals, and methods. So you can't achieve this idea that we put in Machiavelli's mouth. However, he never said that directly, that goals, how we say that? Goal, I've forgotten a word right now, but I believe everybody knows this saying about methods and goals, that we can use whatever method we need to achieve noble goals. And it's wrong, it's deeply wrong. If we use bad methods.
No, hold on, let Carolina finish, please.
Well, Carolina just asked if somebody can hint, and I did. Sorry.
So, well, if you use wrong methods, or if you use methods in the wrong way, you kind of abandon goals. You make them impossible to achieve. That's what happened to Soviet Union, because, you know, I believe some socialists, communists, anarchists had beautiful idea of just society, and what's happened when they use, so to speak, Tsar methods. It was oppressive, and that's how it ended. Horribly.
Okay, I think I'm getting a little lost. So you were saying that that you found the empathy circles to be a really, I think you said, like, beautiful method. You found a lot of value in them. And then I'm not quite sure what you're saying. You're saying goals are.
Well, what is important, I mean that goals and methods has to be one. You can't use violent methods for noble goals. You have to use right methods, non-violence method, if you want to achieve good, noble goals.
I see. Okay, so you're saying you want there to be a sort of an alignment with what you're saying your goal is, or your values, and what you actually do, your methods, your behavior. You want those to be in alignment.
I'm not sure what you mean by alignment.
Like
I understand the word, but yes, they have to be the same, because if you use wrong or violent methods, you kind of abandon your noble goals. They are not important anymore if you cause harm to anybody. Your goals are not important anymore. So you can't harm, you can't be violent, because if you want to achieve your goals, that's what is important. Can you recall? Can
Sure.
you reflect?
So yeah, you're pointing out like when the if the goals don't match the methods, if what you're doing doesn't match your end, your kind of nobler purpose, then it kind of defeats the purpose in the end, I guess.
Yeah. Thank you. I feel heard. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right, I think Andre, I think you're the last person. You're muted.
Yeah, I just unmuted myself.
Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, I don't know if I actually want to talk about the topic. I guess I'll just talk about whatever's in my head. So basically, when I've been listening to people talking, I don't know, I've had this like, I don't know how to explain it. I'm not like enjoying the conversation really. And I'm trying to kind of figure out why. Maybe I'll stop there. There's more to say, obviously, but.
Okay, so you want me to reflect?
Yes, please.
Okay, so you, Alex, you're saying that you're not sure why you're participating because you don't like this. And you have not much to talk about it, about anything. So you're kind of in quandary what you want to say. Is that correct understanding?
That's sort of it. It's a little bit more blunt, I guess, or extreme, but it's the right direction. Yeah, it's not that I don't want to participate. It's just that, well, so anyway, I'll just talk about like, I was kind of, as I was listening to people, I was recalling when I used to attend the Empathy Circle, I think like, I don't know, it was a while ago, it was probably like last year or something. And I was just kind of comparing it. And I remember like, we used to do like a check-in in the beginning, and it was like this thing where you'd kind of just talk about how you were feeling, and then you would have like a physical action, and everyone would mirror it. And that was something that we used to do at the beginning of the Empathy Circles. And I just remembered that memory came to mind, and I don't know, I kind of enjoyed that. It was sort of fun and connecting, and it was always goofy because people would make like funny gestures or whatever, and I felt like it kind of loosened things up a little bit. So that was one thing that occurred to me.
So you're saying that in the beginning, when you joined this group, there was different type of interaction. I understand. I never was participating myself in it because I'm relative, But you're saying that in the beginning it was some sort of imitating each other, body postures or movements, and that was fun. So, that's what you remember.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's it. And that was the way that we would start the 2-hour session or whatever. We'd spend the first 10 or 15 minutes doing that. And I just, I guess I'm missing that. I feel like I missed that a little bit. Like, yeah, I just, I don't know. Something about just like jumping straight into the topic of like global warming and all this kind of stuff. It just, I don't know, it gets so like serious and like intellectual. I don't know. For me, I mean, this is partially just my own like bias, I guess, but like I just don't know that much as other people here do. So I'm just not, I can't really follow what people are talking about as much, but so yeah, I guess that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay, so I hear you saying that this different beginnings of session made you more comfortable, and kind of you felt people more closer than in a situation when people jump directly into discussion of the topic proposed. and it's you feel like it's difficult for you to follow up intellectual conversations and flow of information without this warming up as a kind of finding the contact with participants through kind of fun activity in the beginning. That's how I understood you.
Yeah,
Right.
it was really helpful to hear you reflect it, actually. Yeah, that captured what I wanted to say. Yeah, and I guess I'm sure my time is almost up, but I think like as I was considering coming today, there's a part of me that was like, I don't know if I want to do this. Like, I don't want to talk about global warming. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't want to talk about politics. Okay, there's my time. But I felt like I wanted to come and at least say that I was feeling this way and not just like silently disappear and just not tell anybody why. So that's, yeah.
Okay, so you kind of saying that you made this extra effort to come because you didn't want to participate in the discussion, discussing the topics proposed, but you wanted to do it anyways, just for the fact that, just for the purpose of expressing yourself the way you did. And
Yeah.
I think you did a good thing, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. Thank you. I feel heard.
Okay. So I guess it's my time right now. I'm going to choose Edwin.
Listening.
Okay, so there are three topics I hear here. Basically, always empathy, of course, the number one topic, and then we have rebellious organizations that demonstrate certain things for the cause. And we have global warming / climate change topic. So what I'm going to do in order to save some time, I want to share the link here with everyone that in my view is extremely informative and it's going to support what I'm just about to say. I have spent some significant time in researching the validity of claims of global warming and climate change. It would be very unwise to dispute the climate change, because climate does change, of course. However, I came to pretty strong opinion and conclusion that actually our media and so-called scientific community tell us otherwise. They say that there is climate change caused by humans.
Okay, let me reflect that first. So I was hearing you see three different topics. The first one being empathy, the second one being sort of Extinction Rebellion, or sort of protest, and then the third one being climate change. And you've done some research, and you put in the link there about climate change that it's, I'm not quite sure what that it's man-caused. And it's a scam, I guess, that it's not believable.
Yes, it is 100% scam. And this link contains over a dozen very informative information pieces, like podcasts and other type of media, type of information that proves that basically the climate change and human cause of the global warming is complete scam. And the reason that is this media and so-called scientific community, quote unquote, attempt to prove that is to basically to empower politicians and organizations that are being led by powerful people to use taxpayer-funded money to grant those organizations that conduct those protests and other political needs. As a result, a result of this is continued impoverishment of the poor, a declining standard of living of the middle class, and the greater empowerment of the ruling class.
Okay, well, let me reflect that what I'm hearing. So you're seeing sort of a skepticism. You're saying that from this article that global warming is sort of a way for the politicians to get power and to fund certain organizations. So it's sort of just saying that it's being used for sort of grabbing power and resources and stuff.
Yeah.
So you're kind of skeptical about it.
Yeah, and I don't want to prove it, because that's why I posted the link. I suggest everyone open it and educate themselves on the matter. There's a lot of real scientists that produce a lot of very good information. They also prove that basically they substantiate the claims that certain quote-unquote scientific proofs of the fact that global warming exists is basically computer-generated graphs, etc., that don't stand any criticism. So as far as empathy is concerned, I do empathize with people who honestly believe in this and participate in those activities. However, I will never be able to find in myself the empathy for those scammers, those corrupt politicians, and who stand behind those scams to achieve their gains, their goals.
So what I'm hearing is that you see there's people who honestly believe in the global warming, and that you can empathize with them. And then there's people who are using it for sort of political means, and they're scammers, and you are very skeptical of them, and you can't empathize with them. And you've kind of just been using this article to kind of lay out the arguments that sort of against global warming. And
right. Actually, it's not an article. It's about 15 different articles and podcasts.
Oh, okay. So
it's a compilation of incredibly interesting and good information.
Okay, so it's a big compilation resource, and yeah,
it's just a site that contains a lot of good information, real scientific information.
Yeah,
actually, one of them.
That was the time. I don't know if you saw it.
Okay.
That was.
I didn't see it. Okay.
Yeah, Caroline didn't hold it up very long. So here we are. So we actually have 8 people now. So here we can form 2 groups, or we can stay in one group. So I saw Sophia wants, I think, 2 groups. Maybe we can. I find it interesting to have the full group, large group, but it's you don't get as much chance to speak. So I'm just curious so one group or 2 groups? I'm just curious if we could do get a weather checks. 2 groups. Alex, keep it up. I can't. 1 group. Ian, Andre. 2 groups. You don't know. Okay, I think we've got 3 for 2 groups. So that looks like we've got that. So does that sound okay, Bill, since you're the facilitator? You're muted. You're still muted, Bill. You're...
Okay.
Oh,
yeah, I was checking that article, and I got into website hell, and I can't get back in. So now I should be unmuted, but I'm trying to get back to the group, and I can't seem to do it.
Okay, so I guess we can do 2 groups then, because we had, I think, majority were wanting 2 groups. The thing is Andre, I was just noticing that somehow it's not showing you on the breakout rooms here. So I don't know why that is. If we break into 2 groups, I'm not quite sure where you're going to end up. So
yes, actually, I'm experiencing strange phenomena here myself. I only see myself in the participants, and I see whoever speaks. Maybe I should get out and
Yeah,
come in.
that would be good. If you leave and come back in, maybe the program will, somehow something weird is happening. I'm afraid if we divide into groups, you're going to get lost. So I did want to address something while Andre's coming back is Alex with the empathy circle we're doing here is sort of a introductory, simple, and it's the, you know, it's for the general public who have never done an empathy circle before. It's like we're trying to do just the beginning, a simple, most basic empathy circle, because, you know, the, you know, doing mirrored imaging, getting into more felt sense, I see a little bit advanced, sort of like the next level, which I really enjoy, I think is really important. But it's kind of hard to have people who have never done even the empathy circle before to kind of do that. So that's a little bit of an explanation. So, okay, let me see if these breakout rooms. Okay, let me see. Ah, there you are. Okay, so we're going to go into the breakout rooms. There'll be Alex, Bill, Carolina, and Martin in one, and then Andre, Ian, Sophia, and me in the other. Does that work, Bill?
Please remember about recording.
Oh, yeah.
In both rooms.
Right.
And Bill,
Remember?
will you record the?
I will record. I don't have the. I've lost the Zoom thing. It says I was able to. I've been trying everything, and it says your meeting is launching, and nothing happens. It says join from your browser, which I did.
You're in it. We see you here. You're.
No, I know, but there's nothing. When I check the, you know, click on something from the chat room, it takes me to that page, and it does not give me any way to get back.
So maybe you'll have to. Carolina, you can also record. So yeah.
Is it? I was kind of thinking that I wouldn't mind going into the group with Andre, because that would be really, really challenging for me.
Oh, okay. So move to, let me breakout room 2 and Martin to breakout group. Move to breakout room 1. Okay, great, thanks. Okay, here we go. We're gonna go into these rooms now, I hope. Should see something that says, join the group.
Okay, I'm joining. Okay.
Okay. Then let's see. I was the last person to listen, so I guess I could start speaking, and I'll speak to Sophia. Let me just make sure I also have to managing Bill not joined. Uh-oh, Bill has got problems. Yeah, I see that Bill had some. Anyway, well, I'll keep an eye. I have to keep an eye on manage participants. So, okay. Oh, who can keep time? Carolina Poland asked for help. Okay, I'm going to join the other group to somehow there's some technical issues. So if one of you wants to speak, and I shall return.
I was quite happy that I was in the room with Andre, because I'm in a similar position to Martin of finding that quite challenging.
I'm sorry, Edwin. Everything is okay. You can come back.
Oh, okay.
You can come back. Sorry.
You joined.
We're not. So now he's back.
Yeah, I'm back. Now we're recording this room. They didn't.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we chose Martin, but he didn't get a chance to start talking.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe I should choose Andre, I guess. Oh no, but you just went, didn't you? So I guess it really doesn't matter. What do you think, Edwin?
Do whatever you want. Just your.
Okay, I'll choose Andre then.
Okay.
Okay.
You're ready to be attacked.
You know, I must say I got a really good chuckle out of listening to what you had to say, because it is so far and away from my understanding of the universe. I'll keep my little snippet short.
Okay, so you're saying that what I was saying is so far from your universe that you were basically chuckling at, and it's understood. I'm prepared for that.
Oh, good. You know, when I went to the link, had a quick look, Heartland Institute, pretty well fully funded by the Koch brothers and the oil industry, and all the links in it are all coming out of that genre of what we call the denier, you know, pro-oil and fossil fuel thing. Okay.
Okay, so you were, I didn't capture the name of organizations, but I think it's not very...
The Heartland Institute was the website that you were looking at.
Okay, so the web, actually it's, okay, I'm not sure the web, you're saying that website is the kind of pro-oil industry, and that's why it is comprised of the anti-climate change, global warming information.
That's correct, yeah. I always like the little, there's a little aphorism. It was, there's a whole bunch of climate scientists who are involved in this global cabal of conspiracy theory that has cleverly been overturned by a plucky bunch of oil executives and millionaires.
Okay, so you're saying there's basically a battle between researchers and corrupt oil executives that conduct the information war against the truth. Basically, that's what you imply.
Yes, essentially, that's what I see. I always find the concept that the plucky bunch of oil executives and millionaires could be equated to the kind of community of the global, 98-9% of the global science community is like totally they get it. I mean, the science is actually totally irrefutable. There is no way you can shoot the science down. And 99% of the world's scientists are right there. And that's what they're saying. And it's only, the Koch brothers and the oil industry and the fossil fuel industry that is, holding on to the last dregs of, they've got to keep their industry going and keep the money rolling as long as possible.
Okay. So you're saying that the incentive is obviously to get richer, and that incentive is used, or actually is incentive to create the information war that basically try to prove lies about the absence of global warming, and disinformation they're being presented by those corrupt fossil fuel magnets to public, and as a result, this website is compilation of this very corrupt, manipulative disinformation website.
That's correct. Absolutely, yeah. And so I think I would definitely recommend a couple of science-driven websites to put up against the Heartland Institute, which is renowned. It's well known.
Okay, and also you would like to recommend some real scientific websites that produce opposite point of views.
Okay, well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel that.
You've been heard, right? Okay. So I guess it's my turn. Are you ready? Okay. So without
who are you speaking to?
I'm sorry. I will. May I speak more? May I? Is it fair to choose Martin back?
It would be nice to spread it around a little bit.
Okay. All right.
But it's your choice. It's nice to spread it, but you have it. It's your kind of your choice.
Yeah, I hear it because we
You
don't want
can
to
sort of
make
speak to
dialogue.
someone else, to Martin through someone else. He will hear. That's the other.
Sure. I will use Sophia then. Sophia,
Okay.
are you ready to hear me?
I'm not so keen. No, not keen. I don't understand all the words. So if I ask what words mean, just be patient with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. I will be patient with you. Okay, so now we're starting. Okay, so I really suggest that people who want to honestly investigate the issue with no predisposed kind of idea, even I understand it's very hard because we all have comfort zones and we don't want to be disturbed by opposite opinions. It's the nature of man. However, I really strongly suggest that people don't just to look at the website and qualify it, as Martin just did. I really suggest to open up those articles and listen to different science. There are a bunch of diversified people, diversified in terms that they represent different a spectrum of science. There are geologists, physicists, Nobel laureates, and very renowned people, not connected, serious scientists.
Can I reflect? So
Yeah.
is it okay? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So you're suggesting that you should actually go into the site and open up all the pieces that are in there, and so that people can see that they're not connected, and that's what I'm basically hearing you say. That is that these are what's the word?
This is good information to learn, and not that people are not
and
connected.
that it doesn't have any kind of connections between different kinds of science.
Correct. They independent, serious scientists who dedicated many years in studying the issue. And as far as other point that Martin brought up, politicians, very quickly, I hope I'll be able to squeeze in this story about Al Gore and DuPont, because DuPont is a well-known kind of, oil-oriented industry. What happened, I forgot, it was in the 70s when the initiative started by Al Gore was to revolutionize the cooling systems in the United States. And there was a legislation passed, forced by Gore, to basically put in out of business millions of small businesses and medium-sized businesses that produce Freon type of cooling system.
So stop here, because I won't be able to remember everything.
Yeah,
so
I think I won't be able to squeeze it by you.
I'm sorry.
You're taking my time right now.
Myself quick. So you're talking about a man who I'm not sure what he did. I'm just feeling kind of lost here.
Okay, that's what I was afraid.
Yeah, but can you just?
Yeah, very quickly. Let me give you the facts. So what happened is that legislation to revolutionize cooling systems in every car, in every refrigerator, in every possible device that would produce cooling effect was forced by Al Gore, and the only company who was prepared for this revolution was DuPont, the only company that,
so you're
gained
talking
billions of dollars on that. And guess who was the major contributor?
Well, let her reflect. She was needing to reflect.
That was DuPont.
I really want shorter instances so that I can reflect.
Okay.
Yes. So you are saying that there's this man revolutionized the cooling systems. I didn't hear you say that. And then I lost track again. I'm sorry.
That this is a great example of how corrupt politicians cooperate with corrupt oil industry magnates like DuPont. DuPont was the major contributor for Al Gore presidential campaign, major contributor. And DuPont was the only company who was ready for this legislation. And DuPont put out of business every other company that was producing cooling devices that employed Freon. That's a very great example of what Martin was basically saying, but completely opposite. Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, I'm just hearing you say that this man is an example of creating a kind of revolutionary thing that it seems like, no, I'm sorry, this is too hard.
Okay.
For
Well, let me give a reflection here as facilitator. So what I'm hearing, that what you're showing is an example of how corrupt politicians and corrupt corporations are working together to kind of manipulate the system. So you were just giving an example of how that happens. And then there's all the details of it. But the essence
global
is
warming and global warming, because Freon was obviously, supposedly, the major contribution for ozone layers holes, which is complete scam. It's not true.
Yeah. So there's another example of a scam, and it wasn't true. So that's the core argument: is that there's politicians and corporations using this for grabbing power and financial and political power.
Using the lying about global warming.
Yeah.
And ozone layer holes.
So okay, well that's it. I think we got it right. The essence. So Sophia, your turn.
Okay, Edwin.
Yeah, listening.
I just feel inadequate right now. And I would also, I also felt that I really wanted to understand Andre and listen to his viewpoints. And I just feel sad about not getting the chance to get my own understanding of what he's saying, because I really wanted to listen to him.
Mm-hmm. So you're feeling inadequate and you're feeling a sense of sadness because you really wanted to understand him and you just couldn't understand him, and so it just makes you feel sad.
Yeah, and also it to me it just felt like the point of these groups is for people to feel heard and listened to, and not to argue. And it got kind of heated here and now. So I understand that Andre really wanted to get his point out. Yeah, so I'm just struggling a little bit with that.
Mm-hmm. So you're struggling with it, that you feel you think that the empathy circle is about creating understanding and connection, and you just see that Andre was and there's a sense of conflict here and argument, and so you would like sort of connection and understanding, and you're kind of seeing argument. And,
yeah.
And you're kind of struggling with that. Yeah, feeling some sadness around that.
Exactly. And I also I'm not so educated in this, but I got kind of excited that these two people are sitting here and I'm listening to them and they get the chance to get heard. But then I also feel like I failed on hearing Andre. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So there's a feeling of excitement. Oh, these two, Martin and Andre, can go at each other and kind of talk about this. So you have some excitement about that. But then you're just feeling sad because you feel like, you weren't able to really hear Andre. And
yeah. And I would also like to sort of suggest that there is plenty of room for us to be heard. So you don't have to rush into getting the point out, because there will be time to for you to say what you need to say. And yeah, for me, I think that the connection is more the most important thing. And I really enjoyed what Alex said about connecting first, before you start to create a connection first, basically.
Mm-hmm. So you really would like to, you find it important to create a sense of connection, and sort of rushing to get your point across, and maybe the tension involved in that kind of inhibits the connection. And so you would really like to, focus on building connection and understanding.
Yeah, exactly. And now I feel glad that Andre chose me, because I had the chance to sort of vent my feelings about this, and that I'm really enjoying it.
So you're really glad that Andre chose you, because then you can actually express yourself and vent your feelings about it and have those be heard. So there's sort of some gratitude that Andre chose you.
Yeah, I'm sort of like the feeling person in this group. Yeah.
Yeah, so you would like to, you're the one that's sensitive to feelings, and so you're glad that you have a chance to be able to share those.
Yes, thank you. I feel heard.
Okay. Then I'll actually speak to you back, Sophia, since everybody's had a chance. So yeah, there is, I see the empathy circle as a container for that. There's people who are more intellectual, and there's a space for them. It's their time. They can do what they want. And there's also the feeling, like you and Alex wanting a sense of, connection and warmth. And so there's also a space for that. And this is sort of a space where we can sort of, everybody can be heard. We can sort of integrate those different sort of ways of being. And everyone has a valid, their time, is important and valid.
Yeah, so you're seeing that different people enters this group with different kinds of beings. Sort of, some people are more intellectual, and some people are more feeling. And you want to create a space in which all these kinds of people can actually meet and feel heard.
Yeah, and one thing I think it's a good. It's also good for speakers, right? Speakers get some experience in how is it that they can communicate what they want to say to the listener, right? It's not just about the listener hearing the person, but it's also as the speaker, how do you express yourself in a way that others can hear you? So that there's kind of like two parts of the relationship. It's like expressing yourself well and sort of being sensitive to what the other person can kind of grasp, as well as being able to listen. So it's really a relationship that we're looking at here.
Yeah, so you're seeing this as an opportunity for people to sort of sense in and to how other perceive that the kind of things that they're saying, and if sort of learning how to express themselves so that the other person understands them. Yeah, you're seeing this as a learning opportunity.
Yeah, for listener and speaker. And yeah, so it's for both, really. So I very much like the feeling part, to be sensitive, but we have to sort of see people where they are. It's like, here's a container where you can be who you want to be. And, we sort of negotiate and dialogue. So I like the feeling part. I enjoy the feeling part. But I also enjoy the intellectual kind of the battle too. There's sort of energy and excitement in it. So I kind of value both.
Yeah, you're valuing Yeah, you're seeing the excitement in people being intellectual and arguing, and you're also seeing the value in the feeling part people.
Yeah. So for me, it's kind of like in terms of the empathy circle, I do want it to be so everyone feels comfortable and we don't scare people away, you know, but ultimately, you know, you just have to let everybody be who they are. And an empathy circle is also for holding conflict. So this is like simple, easy conflict. I mean, some of the conflicts we bring into an empathy circle is like families or, you know, people who are deeply, and I mean, it gets, and, you know, Martin's a mediator, so he knows what deep conflict is and how you bring it in. So the empathy circle can hold that really deep, nasty, painful, you know, if people stay with it, they can eventually work through those. So it can hold, it's not all peace and love for the empathy circle. It's like whatever is here is like, you know, we can kind of work with it. So, and everything is invited into the circle.
Yeah, so you're saying that everything is okay here, and it's meant to sort of disrupt people's and yeah.
It's sort of an integrative. It's an integrative process.
Yeah.
It kind of integrates our different energies and by hearing each other. So I guess it's just that integrative part.
Yeah. You're saying sort of like two parts come together and meet, and
yeah, in this case, it's 4 parts.
yes.
So yeah, I feel heard. Thank you.
Okay, so it's my turn again. I'll pick Andre.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm thankful that Edwin took my suggestion about splitting the groups, because this is what I wanted. There is more room for these kinds of conflicts and different viewpoints. So I'm feeling thankful towards Edwin.
So you're expressing your gratitude to Edwin since he agreed with you to split the group in 2, for the reason that you think we would have more empathic conversations, more room to express ourselves, and you are very grateful for that.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And I just want to also say that I don't see this as an issue, that we're a different people in here. I just wanted to express what I was feeling in the moment, and because I know that it is safe for me to be myself and express whatever is going on for me. Yeah.
Okay, so you feel more comfortable being in this kind of setup because you can express yourself better. And I'm sorry for walking because I have to pick up the charge on my computer dice. I'm sorry about that. So you feel much more comfortable actually in this setup. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm enjoying the arguments that you two have, and I wanted to hear more about them, and I can empathize with both of your viewpoints, and because I don't know where I stand yet, I don't feel very triggered, but I don't feel very triggered in the conversations between you. I just want to hear more about it.
Okay, so you are empathizing with both contradictory opinions, but you're not triggered. And I would want to ask you a little clarification on what do you mean by being triggered?
Because I'm not sure what to believe and what I think about it yet. I don't get triggered by you saying that this isn't true, that global warming, and I'm not triggered about Martin saying that that this is true. And so I don't have a lot of emotions around that. The emotional disruption for me was just the argument in itself.
Okay, so since I understood you that since you're not convinced by any opinions presented yet, you are not involved even emotionally in it because you don't know anything yet. So you just hear those two different point of views, and you kind of yet not involved in it. So that's, you kind of, your mind is not set on any.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm just feeling excited.
Okay.
Thank you, I feel heard.
Okay. Anything else you want to get?
No.
Oh, okay. So I guess it's my turn right now, and let me pick Martin then.
Okay, let me just close the door here a sec.
Sure. While we're waiting for Martin, Edwin, actually, as certain points were expressed right now, actually, and as I was listening to and experiencing some frustration, indeed, in related to inability to express rather involving either story or topics. I was going to suggest maybe we may want to increase the time from 5 minutes to, let's say, 10 minutes, because I confess the being guilty in being a little too emotional or too pressing in trying to squeeze in 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so 5 minutes is a bit hard to squeeze everything in. You'd like to have it longer time. We only have less than 15 minutes, so
okay,
include everyone. I think we'll.
Yeah, for now it's not practical.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so let me start talking to Martin then. Okay. So Martin, I don't think we will be productive discussing the core differences in our opinions here in this forum. Because again, for me, the most important product out of these meetings is what we get out of reflective listening.
So you don't think we'll be productive, if we go to the core of our arguments here, because it's what you want to deal with here, and what this is set up to do is to deal with reflective listening.
Correct. However, I cannot emphasize more asking everyone interested in the topics of climate change and global warming to listen, to read those information pieces that are on this, in your opinion, biased website. Regardless whether the website is biased or not, just read the articles, listen to them.
Okay, so you feel that people who are interested in this subject as one of their educational things should go read this website and listen to the articles on it, regardless of any perceived bias that they might have.
Not they, the website.
That the website might have.
Well,
okay.
Yeah. Well, of course, everyone has a bias. That's absolutely it's a fact. And one of the strongest bias that we all have, as I mentioned a little bit when I was speaking to Sophia, is that we have our convictions, and it's our comfort zone. So to get out of the comfort zone, it's disturbing. It creates pain to a degree. So that's why sometimes, not even sometimes, quite frequently, people refuse to obtain information that by default that they know is going to put themselves outside of their comfort zone.
So you believe that everybody has a comfort zone which they like to stay in, and they will resist information that moves them away from their core beliefs and their comfort zone and where they are. So they will just kind of dismiss that information.
Thank you. Yeah, that's basically what I wanted to say. Yeah, I've been hurt.
Oh, good. Okay.
2.5 minutes. I don't believe myself.
Okay, well, as Edward said, we only have, a couple more here. So going around. So I guess I'm on to you, Edwin.
Okay, listening.
Yeah, no, this is, been quite enjoyable to come and I always like it, Edwin, that Edwin keeps his weights you probably got your weights on the table behind you, which he lifts up periodically to show that what we all need to do is to exercise our various muscles, one of which is the muscle of listening and empathy.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing is you enjoy this practice, glad you came, and you're seeing it as an exercise, which, I talk about, where this is a muscle, an empathy muscle that we just need to exercise and practice.
Absolutely. It's, I do wonder, I mean, as you said, I am a mediator, and I've certainly been in situations where compassion and empathy are perceived as weakness by parties in conflict. And I've had, lawyers tell me empathy has no part of what I do, and I sometimes have a hard time breaking through the barriers that people have to empathy, because they're wrapped up in the mechanics, they're wrapped up in the nuts and bolts of the conflict, and they don't see it as something that empathy is going to have any effect on. It's just who pays who at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm. So you're seeing people don't, in these conflicts, don't value empathy and compassion. It's just sort of a battle, and who's going to get the money, who's going to pay. So they dismiss empathy and compassion in the work that you've done. You've seen that. And so it's kind of like, it sounds like you're kind of like wondering how to get people to value empathy and compassion, see the importance of it.
Absolutely. That's exactly it. You went right sort of beyond what I said and into the feeling inside, which is, how do you do that sometimes? How do you help people to a place where they can see that actually, the empathy and compassion route is actually going to get them further down a path that is beneficial to them than the really hard-nosed conflict route. I think in many ways, I think Extinction Rebellion is actually doing quite a good job of that.
Mm-hmm. So it's really, how do you get people to go down an empathy path versus just the battle path? And you're just kind of like wondering how to, sort of convey that to people. And then it's Extinction Rebellion as a movement. You're saying they're actually doing a fairly good job of going down the empathy path.
Right, absolutely. And I always appreciate the work that you do at the Culture of Empathy in making that happen. And, and as I see the circle grow bigger and bigger and more people sort of connecting to that, I would just say how much I appreciate the work that you do.
Oh, okay. So you're just sharing your gratitude and appreciation for the work that I'm doing with the empathy circles and seeing it sort of growing.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Is there more?
Nope, I'm heard.
Oh, wow. I'll speak to Andre then.
Sure.
It's like record time for both of you. So yeah, let's see what to even speak about. Oh yeah, I had thought of had some notes here. Oh yeah, it's in terms of getting back to our topic of nonviolent and how to bring in. I see that what we're doing here can be really the core of a whole nonviolent movement. It's like empathy circles can be part of the activists sort of connecting with each other, you know, and hearing each other and kind of building relationships to begin with.
So you want to kind of go back to the original topic and to see how empathy circles can be utilized basically to do its job. That's what you want to go back and concentrate on this topic. Yeah.
And that for an organization like Extinction Rebellion, who we're trying to do, you know, work with, is if the activists are doing empathic listening with each other, they can, you know, build trust and relationships with each other. So I think for a movement to be, you know, having empathic listening, active listening, you know, embedded in it can be very, you know, create the right culture, the empathic culture.
Oh, so you're saying that this rebellious group, I keep not capturing their full name.
Extinction Rebellion is what they're.
If they employ empathy within themselves, that will create much healthier, much better environment.
Yeah, better movement.
Social kind of chemistry. What I would like to ask clarification. Although you mentioned between themselves, I heard you said, and I think it will be even more productive. Well, I should not reflect.
Yeah, let me just keep going then. So yeah, it's within the group, but also that it's one of the demands. So I think who was talking about the means or the end? I think Carolina was mentioning, right? If we want an empathic culture, we have to use empathic means.
Right.
So the means of, you know, getting people to talk, I mentioned at the beginning, and is to, the means for me is to get the politicians, the what do they call it, the PM, MPs, Minister of whatever, right, in the UK, that are the congressional representatives in the United States, the governors, the mayors, so the political, to get them to use like nonviolent means to bring them to the table, because I've been trying to get them to do empathy circles. The governor in our state, you know, they're dancing around. It's, oh yeah, we believe in empathy, but no, we're not going to do an empathy circle, you know. So it's like, okay, you're not going to do an empathy circle. We're going to take to the streets. We're going to bring you to the table. And so I'm really looking at, you know, getting the politicians to do empathy circles, even if they have to be sort of non-violently coerced into it. And that will be a model for, if people see the governor of California doing an empathy circle, or the mayor of Berkeley doing an empathy circle, that would be a way of spreading that message that, you know, Martin is talking about. Say, oh, wow, these people are getting, you know, stuff done through this means. Or this empathy is kind of working to create these dialogues with powerful people.
Okay, so what you're saying is that you're striving to get people with power, politicians and other public people, to certain organization belonging people to participate in the empathy circles, and to expose this method, the empathy itself, as being indeed productive method, something that can be illustrative enough for people to appreciate it and see the good results coming up right away, by observing those politicians or any other like public figures or community figures,
CEOs.
CEOs. By virtue of participating, you believe that it's going to make more people appreciating the method.
Right. And then the other thing is maybe some different types of empathy circles. So I was just thinking of one, we could have an empathy circle, deep feelings and intimacy empathy circle, right? So we could, kind of tailor it for people like I know Alex and Sophia is like, so you really up front, kind of set the stage for that. So that was another idea that came.
So you also want to diversify the topics and the nature of those circles to get it more kind of objective, maybe even, more powerful.
Address more specifically the needs that people have.
Yeah. Also, okay.
Okay, so I think we're out of time here. So just since we're a larger group, we'll probably need a little bit more. So we got about 14 minutes for the larger group. So I guess we should go back to the larger group. So let me close the room. So we're heading back to the larger group here. So, so thanks for those reflections, Andre. So. Okay, the others should be joining us in a second here. They've got 60 seconds to, somebody might be in the middle of something. Okay.
Okay, are we all back now?
Yeah, I'll stop the recording and